Well, we have our eye black on this morning for the big game, Saturday, 3:30, Michigan versus Michigan State, both of them undefeated. And Jim Epolito, who played for the Spartans, is in our Gillespie Group storefront studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I like that jumper you have on there. I haven't seen one of those before. Back-to-back Final Four.
Back-to-back Final Four.
That's pretty good. Usually you pull up in that big green Cadillac Eldorado of yours. I got to show you mine today, though. Look at this thing out here. This is a Mustang convertible, and it's 2009, and I'm driving it for Cheryl Freeborough at Hyundai of Lansing, test driving it.
Yeah, I hear about you going around that parking lot and looking at all her cars.
Yeah, and this is the one I'm trying out for now because my Buick Rendezvous, which I called the Space Shuttle, has ended its turn, just like the real Space Shuttle. So this is the latest test drive, this convertible, and it's a 2009 Mustang. It's gray. And the funniest thing happened, and I know because you're a car guy, I'll tell you about this. I was in the Meyer parking lot in Okemos yesterday, and I pulled in that with the top down, and I was enjoying a nice fall day, right? And there was one of the old Mustang pony cars, red, sitting in the back of the parking lot, you know. So I thought, wow, this is like the past meets the future. And I was rolling by very slowly as the two Mustangs from the 60s and, 2009 passed by each other. And I was just enjoying the moment.
It's one of those classic moments.
Yeah. And sure enough, the guy who owned that little Mustang car came walking up, and he says, "You like that one better, don't you?" I said it's like looking at a little lineage there. So this one has 15. It's got about 40,000 miles on it, and believe it or not, at Hyundai of Lansing, Cheryl's selling it for about $15,000.
Yeah, I see that price tag on there. I think that that sounds like a pretty good deal.
Oh my God, I'm ready to keep it myself. So if you want it, you better get to her quick because I'm enjoying it this weekend for sure. It's a Mustang convertible. It's got 40,000 miles on it, and it's only $15,000 at Hyundai of Lansing. So take it away from me if you dare. Now, we were talking earlier, and I think it was Greg Johnson from the Grand Rapids Press who said during the Michigan State game, the hits are a little harder, everybody runs a little faster, and it's a little more intense. Was that the same way when you played? Was Michigan the team that you just loved to smash helmets with?
Well, I think football is a some people say it's a contact sport, but really football is a collision sport.
Yeah.
And you're most of the time the hype of the game. And when I played, it was right when AstroTurf was coming out, and the field at Michigan was very, very hard, almost like asphalt with a carpet on top.
Yeah.
And so it was a very fast track, and I think generally everybody just gets a little more adrenaline flowing. Everybody gets hyped up a little more. And I have a lot of friends on the Michigan team, and so it's a huge game for both teams. I mean, they both get that adrenaline flowing up. I'll never forget when I was in the tunnel because I came from Pittsburgh, so I was in the tunnel. I was 18 years old, and we're about to run out on the field, and the Michigan band starts playing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, which enraged the Spartans.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand. I thought, wow, is this the only song they know? I mean, why is everybody getting so upset? I really didn't understand the agricultural college tie-in to that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. It's a fierce rivalry. Yesterday I was with Coach Lloyd Carr and Coach George Perlis. They got honored by Wayne County for Lifetime Achievement Awards. They both grew up in Wayne County and born and raised there. And we were talking about the rivalry of these two teams. And there's just no question. This game is the top game for both teams. And, it's been a long time since both teams came in undefeated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the hype is, and everybody gets so jacked up. I mean, it's right after that last game ends before you play Michigan that you start thinking on a forward, basis that, oh my God, we got to go to the big house next week.
Lloyd Carr came from Riverview, which was a neighboring town to Wyandotte, where I came from, and I think George Perlis was from Redford, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. I talked to Lloyd a lot, and Joe Palomera, who also is a Wyandotte kid, is the one that kind of organized this. He's a Wayne County commissioner.
Oh, great.
So I came and presented a couple of letters that Nick Saban had written to both of them, congratulating them.
That's nice.
And so it was very nice. But I always said that, I spent a lot of time downriver. But boy, if you talked about Lloyd Carr, you could talk about Michigan. You could kick them around all you want. But boy, if you said anything negative about Lloyd Carr, you had
It's true.
every Spartan down there defending him. because
Yeah,
he's
we
a
love
wonderful
that
man.
guy.
He's a wonderful man.
It was great for me since I met him in high school all those years ago.
Oh, you did, huh?
I was in the principal's office serving detention, and he came around
You?
recruiting. Yeah, me. At tiny Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
I
And
I know exactly where that
he
is.
walked in there, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm serving detention." "Where's the principal?" I said, "Sister Nancy stepped out. She'll be back any minute. Can I help you with anything?" And we sat down and talked for 20 minutes. And ever since then, we've been, close. He'd invite me on the sidelines, and he sort of followed my career, and we stayed in touch. So
So he straightened you out there, and
he
the
did.
career followed.
He did.
huh?
He invited me to come to the Wolverine football camp they did for high schools. I did
Yes.
that a couple of years in a row, and the rest is history. Love him.
That's great.
We're going to talk with George Perlis later. Real quickly, though, you alluded to the fact that you came from Pennsylvania and you weren't sure about the dynamic of the Michigan State game. Some of the knock on Rich Rodriguez is he likes to recruit players from outside Michigan, while Mark D'Antonio seems to be winning the recruiting war here in the state. So those players that Rich Rod brings in from outside Michigan, you think they get it?
Listen, the deal is this. I mean, you can say what you like. Number one, you have to build a fence around Michigan, and Michigan State have to get the best players in the state.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. There's huge competition, recruiting-wise, between both coaching staffs to get the best players in the state. But having said that, I think you cannot have a national championship or a team that can contend on a national basis unless you recruit from outside the state. So, Rich Rod is really a very, 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 very good coach. I think the Michigan fans are really starting to embrace him. I mean, in that game, you have to win or you get fired. But the fact is, he's got his Pat White in Denard Robinson now at that quarterback spot. He's executing that offense. He's starting to get some of his own players in. But you just can't, Michael. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that when you're at the University of Michigan level or the Michigan State level and competing in any sport, you can't just get kids from Michigan and win it all. There are great players in Michigan, and there's great competition between Michigan and Michigan State to get them to come to the school, but you have to recruit outside the state. So, for me, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and George Perlis was coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers and watching them in the 70s win 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was always a defensive player. I looked at that as saying, wow, that's great. And then I got to watch the Spartans a couple times a year, and they had the defense that held teams to minus yardage. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, man, this is the greatest defensive team. And I made 17 recruiting visits.
Wow.
But Michigan State always had that defense, and, I just kind of fell in love with East Lansing and the whole opportunity. So.
David Brandon, the athletic director for the University of Michigan, played for the University of Michigan, and he would remind us, I'm sure, as he's on the other end of our line, that Denard Robinson comes from Deerfield Beach, Florida, if I'm not mistaken, not too far from Riviera Beach, Florida, where somebody named Anthony Carter came from back in the day, one of the greatest Wolverine players ever. Good morning, Mr. Brandon.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. I just asked Jim Epolito, who played for the Spartans. I'll ask you, when you played against Michigan State, did you hit a little harder? Did you run a little faster? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Hey,
There's no question about it. There were so many of us that were recruited by both schools, and we knew the guys on the other team, and we respected them, and we respected the program, and it's just a big rivalry. This will be the 103rd meeting, so this has been going on a long time.
By the way, I bet your heart was going fast when you made that hole-in-one in Bloomfield Hills a few weeks ago. I heard about that. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, but I'll trade that in for a victory tomorrow.
There are things to know when you put, what is the capacity is something like 109,000 there at the new Michigan Stadium, 109,901 technically, but you'll get more than that in there tomorrow, won't you?
Yes, I would expect tomorrow we'll have something approaching a record crowd. We had a little over 113,000 for our rededication game against UConn, the first game of the season, and I'm sure we'll be somewhere around that number.
They'll be squeezing in every corner of every box of every seat to get in there and see that game. And this is your first as athletic director, Michigan State game. You feel the pressure?
Oh, I've always felt the pressure. Having run out of the tunnel and teed it up against the Spartans for the 4 years that I was a player, and for the 8 years I was a regent, and for the many years I've been a fan, every one of these games is special and important and seems like it's the critical game in the season. So, there'll probably be a little bit more stomach growling tomorrow for me because I really want our kids to go out and play well and enjoy the opportunity to compete against a great Michigan State team and win.
Well,
But I always feel that way.
speaking of stomach growling, those of us who can't get into I'll be there, but for the folks that can't get into the stadium, you can bet your bottom dollar they'll probably be loading up at home on Domino's Pizza. So it's a real win-win game for you tomorrow, isn't it?
Well, there will be a lot of people parked in front of television sets tomorrow, and that's always a good thing for Domino's Pizza. So that's a side benefit for sure.
Athletic Director David Brandon, the former CEO of Domino's Pizza. Go blue to you, and go green and white to you, Jim Epolito, also a Spartan player and now business consultant.
No, venture capitalist.
Venture
We're a private
capitalist.
equity guy, yeah.
Right here in downtown Lansing. 35 after the hour, we're back in a flash with Mitch Lyons, who played for the Spartans. I'm Michael Patrick Shields.